Hello, this is Ugo Uche with Road to Resolutions, and the title of this video is The Power of Our Thoughts. So, what inspired me to do this video, I came across an old article by Scientific American titled Antidepressants, Do They Work or Don't They? And this is dated March the 2nd, 2010, and it's by John Kelly. So, in his article is pretty much about the efficacy of antidepressants, and I don't want to get into that in this video, but I want to talk about placebo, and I want to make a case for placebo. And the case I am going to be making for placebo is that placebo is very real, and placebo is a made-up word to substitute the power, to distract away from the power of our thoughts. Now, whether this word came about intentionally or unintentionally, I don't know. The reason I say this is, when I was an undergrad college student, I have a bachelor's in psychology and a master's of science and counseling psychology. But during my undergrad years, we would routinely review peer-reviewed journals, and particularly the ones about psychotropic medication, where you have the experimental group and the control group. The experimental group will be given the real drug, the control group will be given the what would you call it, sugar pills, plus, and both, you have a significant number of subjects say, oh my god, I feel better. And while if the drug was anything, it was hard to tell how effective the drug was, because you have people who receive the actual drug say they feel better, and oftentimes we are led to disregard the positive reports of the control group. We'll call it a false positive, because somehow we came to believe that their reports of improvements was trickery on the mind, by the mind. And looking back at it now, I said, well, that's ridiculous, because in the years I have practiced as a psychotherapist, I have come to recognize that thoughts have power, which is why my primary modality is cognitive behavioral therapy. And it really boils down to what we believe. What we believe has a lot of power over our choices and over how we solve problems in our lives. And the most challenging beliefs to change are the ones that we are solidified in our minds in our early childhood years and have outlasted their purpose. So, in essence, this is a case for placebo. Placebo is real. Placebo is valid. It gets a little bit complicated because so let me talk about this article, even though this article is mostly about antidepressants. So this paragraph right here, my mouse is on strike today. Okay, here we go. A controversial article, and this is a controversial article, and I'm going to put the links to these articles in the description box. A controversial article just published in a prestigious journal of the American Medical Association concluded that antidepressants are no more effective than placebos for most depressed patients. Jay Fournier and his colleagues at the University of Pennsylvania aggregated individual patient data from 6 high-quality clinical trials and found that the superiority of antidepressants over placebo is clinically significant only for patients who are very severely depressed. For patients with mild, moderate, and even severe depression, placebos work nearly as well as antidepressants. So in essence, what John Kelly is writing here is um, that the only time where antidepressants would show any statistical measure above placebos, or above the control group, was when the patients were properly depressed. And when you see people who are very clinically depressed, they're very, they struggle with lethargy, and it's really sad because the lethargy is sort of what's keeping them from ending their lives. So where it gets a little bit complicated, with placebo, especially when it comes to medication, is that a pill, your belief in the power of a pill to solve your problems or to relieve your depressive symptoms can only go so far. Eventually, you will reach the point of diminishing returns, and what that means is that I have never met somebody whose depression who didn't have a good reason to be depressed. Let me put it that way. And it boils down to events in their lives that they have come that are not good, that are not healthy, that are pretty sad, and they have taken a helpless stance, in addressing issues that affect them negatively. And the helpless stance comes from a belief of helplessness. They feel helpless because they believe they're helpless. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. And so, while there's the power in belief, regardless of how medically effective the drug is, it will reach a point of diminishing return because they'll go home, and after a few weeks or months, the problems remain the same, and they have that realization and they go back to being depressed. The only way to cure depression is to help people identify how their beliefs lead them to taking a very passive or non-reactive approach to problems in their lives, and changing those beliefs so they can become more active and pragmatic in solving their problems, and unconditionally accepting themselves. So at the end of the day, it comes down to the power of our thoughts, specifically what we believe. A good book that I like to recommend people is E Squared, 9 do-it-yourself energy experiments that prove your thoughts create your reality. It's nothing like The Secret. It's written by Pam Grant. It's nothing like The Secret because I read this book. I love this book. It's one of my favorite books to date. And Pam Grant takes a very pragmatic, as much as she could, concrete approach in explaining or connecting the dots between how our beliefs in ourselves, what we believe, how our thoughts influence our reality. And as a psychotherapist, I would say that our beliefs ultimately influences our health, specifically our mental health, in regards to maintaining an optimistic attitude, regardless of what life experiences you have. Let's see here. I forgot to mention this. I was going to give an example or definition of placebo via Wikipedia. So placebo is taken from Latin, placebo, I shall please, or from placeo, I please, is a stimulated or otherwise medical ineffectual treatment for a disease or other medical condition intended to deceive the recipient. Some patients given a placebo treatment will have a perceived or actual improvement in a medical condition, a phenomenon commonly called the placebo effect. Placebo effect consists of several different effects woven together, and the methods of placebo administration may be as important as the administration itself. So, this definition in of itself, it leads a lot of psychology students to believe, to dismiss the phenomenon of placebo in which if you betray someone's trust and you say, hey, this sugar pill will let you feel better, and over a short period of time they feel better, it's because they believe in you and they believe that you've taken extended time to go through research to come up with a magic pill to cure the problems. The right way to go about it is to get people to believe in themselves and get people to practice more logical thinking and identify irrational or illogical thinking that they've been using all their lives and how it doesn't solve their problems. So placebo is real. Placebo is just really the power of our thought process. Speaking of the power of our thought process, before I forget, I want to talk about my upcoming book on how to end your panic attacks, and how to end your panic attacks, 6 cognitive behavioral strategies for bringing your episodes of panic attack to an end. It's by myself. The book hit a snag in the publication process, but it's back on track, and I expect it should be out in the next week or 2. Thank you for all those on Google Plus who voted for the art cover. I had 2 artists create art covers for me, and this one was chosen over the other one, and I too agree with most of you. This is beautiful. So the book is coming out, and in the book it's a 2-part book. The first part talks about the psychology of panic attacks, and the second part talks about 6 cognitive behavioral strategies for you to practice. And the cognitive behavioral strategies that is designed for you to recognize your flawed thinking, adopt healthier thinking, and you recognize how the flawed thinking contributes to your reoccurrence of panic attacks, and identify healthier thinking that brings your panic attacks to an end. So I'm excited about this book. You really should get it and tell people who struggle with panic attacks. It's a short read, because I know most people who are going to buy this book are struggling with panic attacks, and they want to get to it right away. I use the same format to talk about to write my anger management book. So our thoughts have power. Our thoughts are not to be underestimated, and it takes practice to change what you believe. So thank you very much. Thank you for watching, and have a wonderful day. Take care.